This video is about my journey from here to here. But it was so much more than just these screenshots. Let's get into the deets and let us do a retrospective cohort study. So to be frank, I didn't do any PG oriented preparation all throughout MBBS, and actually I started it in internship. So let's fast forward to internship. So during my internship, I had all my major postings in the start and the minor postings or the short postings towards the end. So I loosely decided that I will actually start the proper preparation towards the end only, and in the starting I'll just study as much as I can. Now I was excited for internship and to go into the actual clinical side of things, but my first posting ended up being PSM. So medical internship in PSM does not really feel very much like a doctor, and that was especially true of my time when I was posted for almost all the duration of the posting in the vaccination center. And that was because COVID-19 vaccination was going on at the peak at that time, and even our hospital had established a vaccination center. So vaccination center duty was actually pretty chill, and we even used to get offs. I mean, getting offs in a medical internship was actually a big thing. So I decided that I would start my PG preparation in a more proper way. Right from the beginning itself, I have a good chance. So in my PSM posting, I decided to do biochemistry. Initially, I decided to do that because it was a little weak for me at that time. But that was the first mistake that I did, that I did not give a proper time to biochemistry. And so I ended up reading biochemistry all throughout the PSM posting, and I still could not finish it. Probably because I was studying a little too loosely. And that way the vaccination duty passed away in a little bit of studying and a little bit of fun and a little bit of duty. And after this I had a clinical posting finally, and that was obstetrics and gynecology, my second posting. Now of course obs and gynae is a very hectic posting, and so I could not really study very much in this particular posting. But during obstetrics and gynec posting I learned a lot about obs and gynae, and that subject got a little bit strengthened for me. But other than that, not a lot of studying really happened during the whole of ops posting. Then my third posting was the orthopedics posting, during which also I did not really study a lot. I just did, I think, a few Q banks during that time, but that's as far as I can remember. Then my fourth posting was pediatrics, and fifth was surgery, both of which were relatively heavy postings, and so I didn't study much even in those. And that actually brings us right to December 2021. Time just flew by very quickly, and I was in my medicine posting. But the medicine posting was relatively a little lighter, and it was more fun to me. And so I studied a little bit more in the medicine posting, and even got to learn a lot about the cases in general also during this. During my MICU posting, which was for a little longer than usual, I was posted in MICU for 17 days approximately. Even in that time, I studied a bit, and I used to read up the cases that I used to see in the MICU right then and there. I used to carry my iPad along with me, in which all my medicine notes used to be there. And whenever I saw a certain case, I used to read up about it immediately at that time, or at least I used to try to do it. And that actually did benefit me a lot. Now in my time, because of all the COVID scene happening, the postings got very random. And my ophthalm posting actually got skipped because the medicine posting got extended. They needed more people in medicine, and so we were posted in medicine instead of going to ophthalmology. And so in my case, maybe because I skipped ophthalmology, that remained a very weak subject for me for a very long time, because I did not have any clinical touch to that subject at all. But finally, after all of these major postings came the shorter and the relatively more lighter postings. And in this time, I decided to do study in a more systematic manner. I began to research a little bit about how to study, what to study. But even among the shorter postings, the casualty posting was supposed to be a little bit hectic. And I had thought to skip the casualty posting altogether. Maybe I thought I'll do it later. But I didn't do that because I thought that the experience I'll get in casualty might help me in NEET-PG, since the pattern is getting more and more clinical now. And I think it did too actually. One or two questions I feel I could answer more easily because I was attentive in the casualty posting and I saw lots of different cases. Then my last three postings were psychiatry, electives, in which I took up FMT, and ENT. So all of these were relatively light, and so I decided to go into full swing for the NEET-PG preparation in this time. But even after all of this, my cumulative study was actually pretty less, and I was aware of it towards the end also, and so I actually didn't study the full time. I also enjoyed a lot even in the last few weeks before NEET-PG. And I didn't really think I would score that very much, and in NEET 2022 I got an AIR of 23,000. But still I thought it was better than expected. I didn't expect this good of a rank considering the preparation that I had done. But of course it was clear that I could not get anything good with this rank, and so I had to repeat one more year. So I finished all of the internship completion formalities and went home and decided to start studying in a much more serious and a much more systematic manner. And so I did the rest of my NEET-PG preparation from home, in fact on this very table itself. And of course this time it had to be completely serious and completely intentional. Now I don't have a lot of photos from this time or any time lapses from this time because I decided that I need to study a little more seriously, and that all would just get me distracted. But I did maintain a lot of records about how I studied or what I studied and how much time did I study for in various apps like in GoodNotes or in Notion, and my study time record in A-Tracker, and that helped me keep track of my studies and stay online. Also, on some days it becomes really difficult to continue studying. Some days you just feel so low, you just don't feel like studying at all. But I tried a little bit to keep myself motivated on these days too. So what I used to do was I used to keep all my motivational thoughts noted down in the Notes app. So like whenever in my peak study time, I used to have a good motivational thought that I thought would help me during one of my low days. I used to note it down in the Notes app, and I used to periodically check it out so that I could keep myself motivated and keep going even on my low days as much as possible. So this time before the NEET-PG 23, I actually had another exam to give, that was INI CET November 22. So for 1 or 2 months, I prepared in the NEET-oriented manner, but then shortly before INI CET, that is just 2 months before INI CET, I shifted to the INI CET-oriented manner. There are a few differences in the pattern of NEET and INI, so you have to change your study strategy a little bit. Even while preparing for INI CET, I used to note down all the things that I found helpful into the Notes app so that I could repeat them for NEET-PG as well. And so I gave INI CET November 2022, and I got an AIR of 1.3k in it. Of course, it wasn't good enough to get me into any of the central institutes, any of the good central institutes at least. So I knew that I had to prepare for NEET-PG again. But I didn't start immediately after INI CET. I took a few days of break. I think I took a 15 to 20 days break. And in this time, I also had a visit to Mumbai and meet some friends there. And after I returned, I started again with the NEET-PG preparation. Of course, after a break, it's very difficult to get back on track, and so initially my study was really slow and really erratic. However, in this time, what helped me was all the useful information that I had noted down in the Notes app during my preparation for INI CET. I think that your mindset changes a lot when you're actively preparing for an exam versus when an exam is done. So no matter how much you think that I will be able to maintain the same outlook towards exam after a certain exam is done, it actually becomes very difficult. And so in this time, whatever I had noted down in my notes helped me a lot. I read it and I got motivated again, I got the kick again, and I began preparing in full swing again for NEET-PG 2023. And this time I did everything right from the beginning itself. For INI CET, I had started doing PYQs much later. Actually, I had stumbled upon Dr. Aditya Gupta's videos about the importance of PYQs. He emphasized it a lot, and after that it actually hit me very hard that previous year questions are really a big deal. Now that is actually pretty common sense, but for some reason in this whole syllabus I just got lost, and for a while I got confused what to read and what not to, until PYQs came to the rescue. So for NEET-PG, I started doing PYQs early on itself, and I started focusing only on the PYQ oriented aspect of it. So eventually I formed a schedule again, I stuck to the schedule, and I tried to study consistently every day. Yes, there were a few days in which I could not study a lot, but I decided not to take it too hard on myself, and I also gave myself a few break days every once in a while. And along with this, of course, I kept giving grand tests regularly. Now everything had been going very smoothly for me. I had entered the flow state, and I'm really grateful for all the support that my parents also gave during this time. But something changed a week before the exam. So just a week before the exam, actually, I suffered a family loss. My grandmother passed away. And it was really very sudden, and on top of that, this was the first family death that I was experiencing myself. And it happened so suddenly that I just could not make anything of it. I just was completely shocked. I didn't know what to think, so I was just trying to absorb this whole thing in, and for a while I had even stopped thinking about the exam. But of course the exam thoughts started coming in mind again, but I was just completely clueless. I just didn't know what to do. But I knew that I still had to keep calm, because all of the hard work that I have done till now, if it just goes to waste, then what was it for, right? Then even all of that time that I spent studying, that I also could additionally have spent with my grandparents, even all of that would go to waste. And one more thing was, I had a grand test planned just the very next day. But this day felt really long, and I went to sleep that night, but of course I couldn't sleep the entire night. Anyway, I woke up the next day. I was very tired, but I decided that I'll just give the grand test. And at this point, I was not even worrying. I was like, okay, what can I do? What can I do about this? It's all unavoidable. So I just gave the grand test, and fortunately I scored pretty well in this grand test. This was the highest I had scored actually in any grand test. So this at least made me feel a little more better, and this gave me a little more confidence that my preparation was good enough, that this setback probably would not affect me a lot. But on the other hand, I did not want to give myself a false sense of hope. So I still continued to study. I still tried to distract myself from it as much as I could. 7 days actually felt very long, but finally I gave the exam. And after the exam was done, it just all got released. Frankly, after the exam, I had a neutral mood. I was neither satisfied nor dissatisfied with how I performed, but I sort of just didn't want to think about it. So I decided to just rest and just give myself some time. Now at this time all the recall videos were pouring in, and I was seeing the thumbnails, but I tried not to click on them. Besides, I was busy with all the rites and the rituals that were going on relating to the death. But once you get into the habit of studying, it just feels really weird just to sit blankly at a place. So I anyway decided to just watch the recall videos, because I also thought that it would keep me a little distracted. And on the basis of my recall, I expected my marks to be somewhere between 550 to 600. And that got me a little more down. I was like, that's not really a very good score. I don't even know if I'm gonna get a good rank. So all these thoughts were just in my head, and I just brushed them off somehow. But then when the result came, it was much more satisfying. I had scored 607 marks with an All India rank of 2011. Now when the result came out, I had a lot of mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, I was pretty satisfied that I got a good rank. But on the other hand, I thought, could this have been better? And then it took me back to 7 days before the exam, when it was all chaotic, and I just stopped thinking about it then. And I eventually made my peace with it. And now I'm looking forward to residency and all that it has to offer me. So I think what can be learned from this is that if your preparation was solid, if your preparation was strong, trust yourself. You are going to perform well in the exam. So even if you face a setback like this a few days before the exam, if your preparation has been going well, don't worry about it. Try to keep those thoughts aside and just continue studying and just give the exam with all the confidence that you've got. And the other thing that can be taken away from this is that you never know what can happen in life. So don't get too lost in the PG preparation exam phase. Realize that this is ultimately just an exam. Yes, it decides a lot of how you will end up in future, but it is just an exam. Ensure that you spend time with your loved ones as well. Trust your confidence, trust your preparation. Don't let anything get in your way. You can do it. So that's it for this video, guys. If you're in MBBS and you want to know how to study for NEET-PG based on what year you're in, I have made a video about it and you can check it somewhere right over here. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.